Muted?
No.
Okay, I can mute myself, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Right here.
All
we
right.
go. Hi, guys.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? My name is Kyle Rainey. This is my beautiful bride, Cassandra. We just want to thank you so much for being on this evening. We're super excited that you are here joining us tonight for this Plexus online event, talking about what it looks like to be in ministry and in Plexus. So assuming that you were invited here to be on this event by someone who cares about you, who thinks that Plexus may be for you, and that you may be in some sort of ministry vocation. And so tonight you get to hear from ambassadors that have actually done this Plexus journey, this Plexus life and ministry as well. And so they have some great testimonies, great stories, some of the hesitations and fears they had coming into it, and maybe hopefully address some of the things in which maybe you have questions about. But first off, we just want to say thank you for being here. Again, my name's Kyle. This is my wife, Cassie. This is our little one, Poppy. She's usually in all of our Plexus videos because, well, she likes to hog the spotlight. So it makes us look better. So we are Emerald Ambassadors. We live in Eugene, Oregon. And I'm actually a speaker and pastor of a local church here in Eugene, and been doing Plexus for now about 2.5 years or so. And then been in ministry for over 10, 11 years, something like that. So yeah, so we're excited to go ahead and get this started. And like I said, it's just gonna be a little glimpse of what it looks like to be a Plexus ambassador and a ministry. But before we get going, I'm gonna go ahead and just open us up with a quick word of prayer, and then we'll get to our first presenters this evening. You would pray with me. Father God, thank you so much for this evening. Thank you for the people who are joining us at this event. And God, I pray that we understand that before the beginning of time, you have set this up, and that you have brought who you wanted to bring to hear this, what we have to say this evening. God, may you be glorified in all that we say, and know that Plexus is just a tool that you have allowed us to have in order to further your kingdom, more people hear about the gospel of Jesus Christ. We thank you so much, Lord, for this evening, for the presenters that will be going on tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. So I am super pumped, super excited to introduce our first presenters tonight, Brandon and Sally Lewis. They served in international missions in Zambia, Africa from 2012 to 2015, and have been in church as a worship leaders since 2014 in Augusta, Georgia. So super pumped to have our Georgian worship pastors in here, and hopefully some great accents will come out pretty soon. But they've achieved the rank of Emerald in May of 2017, and we got the pleasure actually of hanging out with them in Hawaii this last September, where we first got to meet the Lewises. So Lewises, thank you so much for jumping on.
You are so welcome.
Thank you guys for having us.
Yes. 1 second. Okay, good. So, yes, I'm Sally, my husband Brandon, and like I said, we were serving in Zambia, Africa for that 2.5 years, and when we came home, I roundaboutly found Plexus through one of my friend's Facebook posts, who actually I met when she came on a short-term trip to Zambia. So the Lord was working in her life then for that season, and then also grew a friendship over Facebook for the 2 years after I met her in Zambia, and look what he has done, right? So that was super cool. But I joined for the really noble reason of losing my baby weight. So I was not looking for a business. I wasn't looking for a ministry for sure. I was just looking to make sure that I could stay awake to watch my 15-month-old and not feel like I was going crazy. So I get into Plexus and I start taking my stuff. I start feeling better immediately, and I start reading all these testimonies, okay? And I just want to tell you a little bit about when this vision became clear to me about how this can be such a blessing to people. And it was when I saw a testimony about someone struggling with joint pain and a lot of autoimmune issues. And Brandon's mom actually struggles with all of those things and used to miss church twice a month, and she was a minister's wife, and she had to stop doing children's choir and some of the things that she really loved to do in service of the church because she felt so terrible. She couldn't breathe sometimes because of her asthma and things like that, and just couldn't do everything that she used to do. And so when I saw this, I got really excited, and I was like, what if this could help her? What if she wouldn't have to feel as bad as she feels, and she could begin to do the things that she feels called to do again? And that's exactly what happened. And so I remember the first video I ever made on Facebook, and because of that situation, because of seeing her within 3 months crawling around after my kids and not having to have an inhaler with her all the time and all of these incredible things that we never would have imagined, I just remember saying, this is equipping the saints. This is strengthening the army of God. This is giving people a body that can serve and a mind that is not focused on themselves, but focused on other people because they don't feel like junk, and they're not tired all the time, or they're not depressed or anxious about everything. And so they can love others and serve others well. And that was just kind of like, what is this that I have stumbled upon? And it has been an absolute blessing. So that's really how I kind of got into this, and figuring out that this is so much more than just health and wellness. This is giving people back the freedom to live out their calling and to be who God intended them to be, and to feel how He intended them to feel.
Yeah, health-wise, obviously on the health spectrum, to be able to do the best work that we can for the kingdom, it's the best that we are healthy and that we can live our lives to the fullest right now, so that we can actually go and be the hands and feet of Christ. But on the other side of things, the monetary side, it also helps us do more and more things for the kingdom that we can monetarily. So it's both health and it's really both sides of these things that we can actually give more to the kingdom and do more for the Lord with these things. The thing I absolutely love about this business is the link between ministry and this business is relationships. If it's all about ministry, is all about relationships. Ministry is all about meeting people, talking to people, and counseling, being with people. That's what we see in Christ, and that is what this business is about. It's meeting people, being with people, relationships. And so I just love the link. I think it's a very natural, easy, simple link to make between this business and ministry. And it's been great for us. As he was saying, that we've just recently moved from one place to another. So we have boxes everywhere, living out of boxes at the moment. And I've been able to back down a little bit and kind of be more focused and centralized on what it is God's gifted me to do. And that's just a blessing in and of itself, to have the freedom to be able to do that. And this business is what has allowed us to really do that.
Yeah. No ministry families would ever really toot their horn about how much they are making with ministry. And truthfully, when we first started Plexus, neither one of us had a job. We came back from Zambia and had nothing to our name. We were living at my mom's house, and so grateful for that season. But even when he did find his first worship leadership position here, he wasn't making very much. And without Plexus income,
#ministry.
Yeah, we really would not have been able to survive. And with me not working outside the home, which was really something that I felt God, pressing upon my heart, was to stay with my daughter. And now we can be both stay-at-home parents, and he is just doing worship at church. He doesn't have to wear 15 hats. He can focus on worship and what he's called to do, and lead his band well and really encourage them. So not only are we encouraging our team of thousands and sharing the gospel basically by our love and our words every single day to our team, but now he's able to do his job so much better because he has the freedom to do it, because we're not worried about the lack of raises or having to ask for money when we know it's not in the budget.
So we're going to wrap this up here in just one quick second, but I just want to quell one thing that I feel like, me being in ministry, I hear a lot of is, well, I can't do that. I would feel like it would be using my position in ministry to go against, to get people on my team and blah, blah, blah. Guys, God gives good gifts. It's God who gives us good gifts. Success doesn't come from us. Success has never come from us. Success comes from the Lord. And so what we have seen in this business is not our own doing. It can't be. We're not those people. We're not good enough. We're not smart enough, definitely not smart enough,
College dropout.
to do what we're doing here. This is the Lord. And so every day we realize this is his business and we give it to him. To put it any other way is to take away from what he's done for us and what he's given us.
Absolutely.
So I want people to understand that you can do this business guilt-free. All we're doing is building relationships. I don't go into any relationship not talking to anyone thinking, Plexus first. I talk to them just like any other person I would talk to.
And truthfully, though, belief in these products in this business, enriching someone's life is never a bad thing. And I think that's where we come from. It is a blessing. We have seen it be a blessing for us in our health and our finances. And why would we not share that with people that we love and that are in desperation and in need? So thank you so much for letting us share with you guys. And we'll hand it back over to the ring.
Thank you so much, Brandon and Sally.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
New nickname.
Yeah, new nickname. There you go. Oh, that's gonna stick. That'll have to stay. That's like the Ben and Jennifer. Bennifer. Yeah, that's what it is. So we're really excited. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks, Lewis's, and appreciate you so much. Next up is Jody McComas. Gosh, I can't do anything. Senior Ruby in Portland, Oregon. She's married to Matt McComas, and they have two awesome children. She's been working with Campus Crusade for Christ, or Crew now. I think that's the cool new name for Crew, for 16 and a half years. That's amazing. That's amazing to be only 25 years old and do that. That's crazy. And so super excited to have them on. They're actually very good dear friends of ours living in Portland, Oregon, and really, really excited to have them have Jody on this evening and talk to us a little bit about what Plexus has done for her. Take it away, Jody.
Oh, I think you're muted, Jody. Hold on 2 seconds. Can you unmute yourself?
Let's see. Am I good?
Yes, you're good.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right. Yes, I'm Jody McComas, and we live in Portland, Oregon, and have been in ministry for over 16 years. Most of that was with college students. More recently, it has been with recent grads and 20-somethings. And for about the last year and a half, I've been part-time. And my husband is also part-time currently as well. And we did not come to Plexus either for a business. I wasn't looking for another job or another ministry. We felt at capacity. And one of the reasons that I personally was totally at capacity is because my health had been horrible for 20 years, and it just continued to escalate and get worse and worse. And I wasn't even able to do all the things that I wanted to do and were passionate about doing. We were struggling with financially because it cost thousands of dollars every year for us, trying to figure out what was wrong. I had tons and tons of different things diagnosed, never slept through the night my whole life. I had food sensitivities to pretty much everything. I couldn't eat. Skin issues, and my body was just in pain from head to toe all the time. I had specialists for everything and naturopath, and I was basically maintaining miserable, and it was no way to live, and it just took a toll on our family. And so when I saw Cassie start to post and share about Plexus, I just thought, I have nothing to lose. I have got to give this a try for my health, for my family, even for my ministry. And so I jumped in and tried the products, and you guys, within 4 months, they totally changed my life. I was a different woman, and I was able to go off of medications. I was sleeping. I had energy. My thyroid began working again. My hormones were balancing. Had been sick all the time, and my immune system was getting stronger and stronger, and it literally changed everything. And so when that happened, I knew that I had to tell people about these products, and I had shared them with a few people right away because I needed my products paid for, and I began to see it make a difference in their life. And the tricky thing for us is, in the ministry that we were in and raising our own funds, we are not allowed to have an outside job and make an extra income. And so I had to come to the place where I had to ask, what is God asking me to do? I have to go part-time to do this business. And I just came to the place where I knew that that is what God was asking me to do. He had restored my health for a reason, and he wanted me to pass that on to others so that those other people around me who were suffering could find life to the full, and exactly how God wants us to have it. And so that's what I did. And I am so thankful. And I've been thankful that I've made that decision. And in some ways it was the biggest step of faith that I've made. You think going into full-time ministry is the biggest one. And this one was actually for me. And it has been really great. It hasn't all been easy, but God has used it to shape me and my family. And we just feel like it's been an extension of the ministry that we were already doing. And it's even more holistic, which I love. We get to journey with people through emotional things, spiritual things, and now physical and financial things. So it's just expanded our ministry. My husband and I always worked together before, but now we get to come alongside each other in this as well. And he is my biggest cheerleader. He doesn't post as much as I do, but he supports this business. And we get to dream together. I feel like we didn't dream for years. For one, because I wasn't physically well enough to even see into the future. And now we can dream and think, what is God, calling us into, and what could we do? And that is all thanks to Plexus. I think that, in the beginning, some of my biggest fears were really, what are other people going to think? I was so fearful. And because we raised our own funds and still did for part-time, it was me asking, what are they going to think of me? Do people think I'm abandoning my call to ministry? Am I going to be misunderstood? Are people going to think less of me? And, the answer to those questions were, yes, some people will think those things, and that's okay. But I am responsible to do what God is calling me to do. And I knew that he was asking us to do this and to step into this new ministry and new business and totally new territory. And so just becoming more confident that that's what he wanted us to do. And it was good and it was okay. And it's okay to invite other people to join you in this. So it's been a process for me overcoming some of those things, and even in my own heart and mind, and thinking, there's no such thing as sacred and secular work. When God is in it, it's all sacred and spiritual. And if it's not, then I'm doing it wrong. I need to reevaluate what I'm doing. And so I just think it's increased our influence in leading a team of people and loving people and helping them in all of these other ways that we never got to come alongside people before. And it was mentioned before, but relationships. I mean, this community has added so much to our lives. I had no idea that a lot of this would be for our benefit, honestly, and how we've been loved and supported, especially lately. We're going through some pretty hard things in our family, and our life has been hard recently. And it has been this community in a large way that God has used to really show up and to love us personally. And so even for us personally in that way, it's just been a huge blessing.
Thanks so much, Jody. That is so awesome. And just so, I don't know. I was like, amen. Amen. I thought I was in church, man. That was awesome. I was having church over here. So that was awesome. Thank you so much, Jody. And it's just awesome to hear your heart. And it's been great to be on this journey with you. Next up, we have Jerry and Deborah Lawson, one of the founders of Plexus, one of the first people to come into Plexus, the very first diamond couple of Plexus that ever came. And if those don't know, let me get a little background. So diamond's the highest rank you can gain in this company. And so both of them have done it. So that's amazing. They began their journey in 2010 with Plexus, and Deborah is a Plexus charter board member. So she knows all the insider scoop of everything. And so we try to be really super nice to her. But we are so thrilled to have them on. Jerry is a pastor there in Mississippi. They've been ministering for several years. And I have to say, and he doesn't know this, but Jerry's Diamond documentary, it's a short film about his journey in Plexus, is actually what inspired me as a pastor to want to be in Plexus. Like, I saw his documentary and going, man, that's one of my peers. That's a guy who's doing what I'm doing, who's called to what I'm doing, and he's making a difference. I think I can too. Jerry and Deborah, thank you so much for being on tonight.
Thank you. Are we on? Okay, good. I'm gonna let you go first.
I've just been impressed sitting here listening to you youngsters, and I appreciate the fact that you don't let other people and what they say hold you hostage from doing what you know in your heart of hearts God is calling you to do. Deborah and I've been in the ministry 52 years now. We've been here at this church 20 years. In 2006, I was diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic. The doctors that diagnosed me had never seen anybody with blood sugar as high as mine was, and they couldn't understand how I could be up and about and doing things that I was doing. Well, that's all in God's hands. But in 2009, Deborah and we've always pastored small churches. We've never had retirement. We've never had health insurance. Probably never had a decent salary, but I wouldn't want to be paid what I'm worth, I'll tell you that. But in 2009, with all of our health issues, Deborah asked me, she said, well, what's your New Year's resolution? I said, I've been praying to the Lord. I'd like to double my tithe in 2010. And she just laughed at me. I mean, we couldn't even hardly meet our expenses. How are we going to double our tithe? But anyway, we heard about Plexus in 2010. Deborah come to me and she said, Jerry, I think we ought to do this. And I can lose weight.
Do it just to take the product, not the business.
No, we're not looking for business.
No business.
No. We can't do that and do the ministry as well. Just can't do that. But we could take it and maybe get healthy. And we got to looking at the cost and all, and I thought, no, we can't do that. So Deborah had given me a night to think about it, pray about it. And the next day, when she asked me, she said, well, do we take the plunge and try to take on another expense? And I started to tell her no. And then if you're in the ministry, you don't listen to your brain, or you don't look at what you think you can afford. You look in your heart of hearts. And I just asked the Lord, what do I need to do? And in my heart of hearts, I knew that Deborah had always supported me in the ministry. And it was like the Lord was saying, Jerry, you're going to support her in this. And so I looked at her and I said, I don't know how we'll afford it, but let's go for it. I think it might help me with my blood sugar, and maybe you can lose weight. But really, I thought I had stupid written across my forehead.
Sucker.
I'm going to drink a little drink and we're going to lose weight. But anyway, we got the Slim in. We started taking it. And almost immediately, I was sleeping better. I was feeling better. And I decided, hey, I'm going to invest. I'm going to get out and walk, and I'm going to watch what I eat. And my health dramatically started improving. I took off one day with a bottle of Slim. I'm drinking it. I'm walking and all. I got about a mile from the house, and my blood sugar completely fell out on me. And I had to sit down by the side of the road, called Deborah on the cell phone and told her, you're going to have to come pick me up. My blood sugar has just fallen out. I had to really start watching my blood sugar close, because the Slim was bringing my blood sugar down. By the end of 2010, I had gotten off of 4 insulin shots a day. And so I don't take that now. But after we were in Plexus for 2 or 3 months, and Deborah had gone Fast Start Gold, we started getting these checks in the mail. And I knew good and well, Plexus was trying to get us hooked in like a 5 or 10 year program. And if we cashed one of those checks, they had us hooked. So I would not let her cash the checks. And the checks kept mounting up and mounting up. And finally, Deborah asked Sheila Medina, said, what do we do with these checks? She said, either cash them, or I'm coming up there and going to cash them and put them in my bank account. And so at the end of 2010, the Lord was really blessing us and then challenging us. The blessing that I've given to you, Jerry and Deborah, what are you going to turn around and what are you going to do with it now? Are going to use it for my glory, or use it for your own selfish needs? Deborah and I have been able to hire an additional minister here at Enon Church. When the piano the little church had went down, we were able to buy the church a grand piano. We support the Billy Graham Evangelistic Ministries, and we lost a tremendous evangelist this week in Billy Graham. What a wonderful man. We support Israel, because God says, those that bless Abraham, I'll bless you, and those that curse Abraham, I'll curse them. And so we support Israel. We support American Family Radio. We've been able to greatly increase what we give to the kingdom. And yes, we were able to more than double what we gave to the church there in 2010. So the Lord has blessed us, and we have gotten health, we have gotten wealth. And many people come to me, and I'll just say this in conclusion. Do you have a problem pastoring a church and sharing with Plexus? No, I do not. In John chapter 4, there was a woman that met Jesus at the well. To me, she became the biggest network marketer for the Lord, just telling what he had done for her. And so I tell people I have no problem telling what the Lord has done for me, and how he has blessed me with good health, wealth, and why in the world would I go and share anything else but Jesus Christ and Plexus?
Well, you know, Jerry, whenever you got sick, I had been a stay-at-home pastor's wife. I did a little bit of something on the side, but I wasn't making any money. In fact, I was $13,000 in debt. But I knew that when you got sick, I came home from the hospital with you. You came home with 4 insulin shots. I came home with fear of what in the world are we going to do? You know, I know Jerry's always one that says, "No, God's going to take care of us. Don't worry, God's going to take care of us." And I firmly believe that. But we women, you have to agree with me. You women, we want something a little bit more tangible. We got to feel it, right? And I'm like, God, I need to feel it, please. And so I pray every night, Lord, please help us. And we got the Slim, and yes, we started taking it. I only started taking it to lose weight, and my whole purpose was to find a 9-to-5 job. I had determined that I was going to go out in the work field and work, because if he got sick, we lived in the church's manse, or parsonage, as some might call it, and didn't have a home of our own. So I knew that we had to do something. And a little bit of retirement, not much to speak of, and retirement's looming ahead of us. So I had a big burden, and I think even now I have a burden for pastors' wives, because I know how they feel in that area. But I started taking the Slim to lose the weight. I wanted that 9-to-5 job, and I had 2 strikes against me. I knew that no one would hire me because of those 2 strikes. You see, I was fat and I was 50, and those aren't good job requirements. You know, people don't like those kind of things. And so I thought, if I could just lose a little bit of weight, maybe, just maybe, I could get that job. And sure enough, the weight kind of started coming off. He started feeling better, and I started the weight coming off. And that's when, you know, whenever you live in a small town, well, let me just tell you, you can lose 5 pounds and everybody knows. I mean, and so everyone started asking.
You can gain 5 pounds and everybody knows.
That's true. So everyone started asking, what are you doing? And what do? You send them to your website with no intention of even realizing it's going to have an income. Well, checks did start coming in. And I will tell you, the whole time I had been praying to God, the verse that he kept on bringing to me was, "Be still and know that I am God." And that was the verse that I kept clinging to. I feel with all my certainty, with all my heart, and that God placed Plexus in our lives.
Amen.
We have better health, and not just that, and that's what we went in for, but we've got so much more. The 9-to-5 job, didn't need that. But we ended up with some retirement. Plexus ended up being that vehicle for a job. And what kind of job is it? I mean, that you get messages, "Hey, Deborah, I want to thank you. How much better I feel. Oh, Deborah, I want to thank you. My pregnancy is the best it has been. I can't believe how good I'm feeling." Or, "Hey, Deborah, I'm able to pay our house payment each month. I'm not worried about buying groceries, or I don't have to check my bank account and hold my breath when I'm out at Walmart checking out. I can buy what I need for my kids." Yeah, those are huge returns that I get that I wasn't expecting. Some of the other things that we got besides health, a home of our own. Jerry is still in the ministry. He surrendered when he was 14, so he counts all of those years. But we've only had 4 churches since we've been married. 4 churches, but we give more to the ministry. I love that the first year at it wasn't convention. it was the other. Anyway, there was a contest, and I earned the $10,000 check. And when we got on the car to come home, I said, "Hey, Jerry, I'm going to give this to the ministry. I want us to go out and I want us to get that minister. And I know it's going to be a leap of faith for our church. So, but this is there in case we should need it. And that he won't be worried that he wouldn't get paid or anything." It was a God thing. I do have a heart for pastors' wives or anyone else that is in the ministry, for them to know that Plexus can be for you. It can get you that help, and it can be that ministry, an extension of a ministry to help others. And you were so right earlier when you said that when people don't feel good, when Christians don't feel good, it's hard to talk about God's love. But gosh, when you feel your best, you can't wait to get up in the morning and tell everyone about what God has done and what he's doing in your life and what he can do for them. But I'm going to close with this. God has led us to use Plexus in so many ministries. Now, I know that God doesn't need our money at all. He owns the cattle on the hills, the thousands hills. But I feel blessed that he has used us to further his kingdom. And my quote that I want to tell you is, devote each day to serving God and helping to enrich lives of others. Devote each day to serving God and helping to enrich the lives of others. I want to thank y'all for having us on tonight, and may God be glorified in this.
Thank you, Jerry and Deborah. That's so amazing. One of these days, Jerry, I'm going to sneak in the back of Enon Church and just listen to you in the back pew. Just amazing. Thank you so much, guys. And I just love your hearts for people and love the ministry and the Lord, and just so faithful in your calling. Like it's just overwhelming to me. I love it. I can listen to you all day. Well, next we have Rachel Neagle. She lives in Lubbock, Texas. And if you ask her and her husband, that's where Jesus lives. And so, so if you want to meet Jesus, got to come to Lubbock, Texas, apparently. So, but she's been in Plexus for 4 years. She's a Diamond Ambassador. Her husband was a worship pastor there in Lubbock. And she has 2 wonderful kiddos. And we're excited to hear from her this evening. Rachel, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. As I sat and I listened to Jody talk, I thought, oh, wow, it wasn't just me. My husband and I have been in ministry for the better part of our marriage. We just had our 19th wedding anniversary, and have really only had a season over the last couple of years where we were not in actual full-time ministry. But my story is so much like Jody's from the standpoint that my health just seemed to deteriorate and decline year by year by year. We went through infertility. We went through, pretty much any hormonal issue you can imagine. I have been there and I have done that. I unaffectionately dub that hormone hell, and it is not a place that I wish for any woman to be. I tell people that by the time that I found Plexus, I was grateful enough, or really I should say by the time Plexus found me, I had the blessing of finding a natural health practitioner, a functional medicine doctor who had diagnosed my thyroid and hormone and adrenal issues and kind of set me on a pathway to healing. But I was not 100%. I wasn't Rachel. And it was in that period of time where God had moved our family from Amarillo, Texas to Lubbock for my husband to take on a position as a full-time worship leader at a church here. And I don't know how it works at everybody else's church, but for us, oftentimes, even though he may be the one getting the paycheck, it's still a full-time gig for me too. So I was really, really busy in that season of my life. I was still needing to work part-time. I was serving alongside him at the church, not singing because nobody wants to hear me sing. I did other things. There are other valuable things that we can contribute to the church, right? But I found myself at this place where all I had ever desired in my life was to be a mom and I had gone through infertility, and I have 2 beautiful children today. But I felt like every single day I was not the mom that I wanted to be or that I could be to them, because I was exhausted on every single level that you can imagine. And so I would finish my job, I would scoop them up from their parents' day out and from kindergarten, and we would come home and I'd pretty much plop them in front of a TV. And that's when the mama that I wanted to be. And so around that time, I had a friend that was posting about Plexus, and I never, ever, ever intended to get into the business side of it. It was purely, I tried the products worked for me. And now the problem became, how do we pay for the products? Because, as I think a few of you have mentioned before, ministry jobs aren't exactly, the best paying gigs out there. So we just didn't have any breathing room in our budget. My sponsor had said to me, if you could get 3 to 5 people to cover your products, then, or you get 3 to 5 people to join you, that would cover your products. So that really was my goal, was 3 to 5 people. But what I did not realize, and the thing about it is, guys, is that the Lord will never allow you to go through a season like what I went through, what Jody went through, what Pastor Lawson just mentioned that he went through. It is all for the purpose of a testimony. And the purpose and the glory of that testimony is that you have the opportunity to help someone else. And so, yes, I felt very conflicted as a pastor's wife. Here I have found this incredible product that has done wonderful things for my life. And I'm just going to sit on it. And I'm not going to share it with anybody because I'm afraid of what other people will think. I had great fear about people feeling like I was going to leverage my husband's position. It was a large church here in this town, very high profile. Was I going to try to leverage those relationships for our own personal gain, our own personal benefit? But just like Jody kind of mentioned, when you have found this thing that helps so many people, why would you hold it back? Why would you keep that from other people? And so I have always been sort of an open book, even at times to my detriment, on Facebook. And so many people had followed me, when I couldn't get out of bed because my body hurt so bad and I was so run down with postpartum depression. I didn't have an outlet to reach out to say, has anybody ever been through this before, other than Facebook? And so literally people got to watch my life transform over social media, from being, I don't want to overstate bedridden, but it was hard to get out of bed every day, from thinking, do I need to get one of those carts at Walmart where you sit in it to be able to ride around to get my groceries? Because it literally, every step that I take, there's so much pain to try to go and get my groceries done. I didn't want to leave anybody in that place or anybody in that position. And the beauty of what I have discovered about Plexus is that, so as a side note in this, my husband was able to leave his ministry job 3 years ago because, quite honestly, he was burnt out. We had a church that had 4 services every Sunday, and he was the worship leader, and there wasn't an assistant, and he was leading at all of them, and he was coordinating everything, and he was writing songs, and he just straight up got burnt out. And so it was shortly after I hit the rank of Sapphire that we made the decision that we would start to transition him out of that position. And that absolutely would not have been possible without Plexus. But then all of a sudden, when you've spent the better part of your, 20 years of marriage in ministry, and then it's like, oh, wait, we're not at a church anymore, or we're not on stage anymore, or we're not, what does ministry look like? Well, y'all, ministry is community. Ministry is talking to women every day and saying, I know what you have been through. I know how you feel, and I can help you. I can either help you not get into the situation that I found myself in, or if you find yourself there, then I have products, and I have a belief in these products that is unshakable, that can help you get out of that place. And I definitely do tend to. My coach always tells me you got to be more intentional about leading with the business, because the business has done phenomenal things for our family as well. But it is the products that changed my life, that gave me back to me, that gave my husband back his wife. I mean, that was 3 weeks into it. He was like, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, let's not stop it. And then I told him, and he was like, okay, that's great. How do we pay for it? So that's just a little bit about my story that I wanted to share with you guys. And I'm just so thankful to have been part of this call tonight.
Rachel, thank you so much, man. That's just so awesome. And I love what you just said. I got to give got me back. I love that. I love that you got to, part of Cassie's story. It's funny. I had the same response when Cassie started taking products. I was like, who are you? What have you done
But
with my
I like
life?
it.
That's, just like, well, okay, let's keep this going. So thank you so much. What an incredible testimony. Thank you so much for being on this evening. We really appreciate it. Finally, we have Addie King, is a Diamond Gold ambassador for Midland, Texas. Her husband is a pastor there at a local church, and they've been doing it for 18 years. She's been in Plexus for almost 5 years. And Cassie and I have secretly stalked her this last season, and we finally got enough nerve to introduce ourselves and say hello. She's one of our favorites in Plexus. And so, Addie, thank you so much for being here this evening, and we can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Well, aren't y'all the sweetest? Talk about make a girl feel like $1 million. Y'all are so sweet. Well, like you said, my name is Addie King. I've been with Plexus for almost 5 years, and I'm excited to share my story with you guys tonight. My husband and I have been married for 18 years. We have been in ministry together for almost 20 years. We started in ministry when we started dating, and it has been a very exciting journey, obviously, but hard. I always say that ministry is hard, yet so rewarding. So after we got married, we traveled, did worship, led worship. He's a worship pastor here at Stonegate Fellowship in Midland, Texas. And but when we got married, we traveled, led worship for all, camps and marriage retreats and all these different things. We did that for a lot of years, and then started having babies. So we had to come off of the road at that point, and ended up living in Midland and having one of our first child. But we still traveled here, but we were ready to get off the road. So we ended up being a part of a church plant in Mississippi, Senatobia, Mississippi. And we were there for 6 years. And so while we were there, we had a few more kiddos. All of our kids are within 4 years of age. So we had all these babies, and we had this baby in our church plant, and he worked 24/7. And I was pretty much a crazy hot mess, and stressed out all the time, trying to take care of everybody. And thank God that he brought my parents there, and they moved there to help us with the kiddos. But we were so outnumbered with all of them. So anyway, we were part of a church plant there, and I just let myself go. I was tired. I was weary. I was overweight. And I really couldn't figure out what is wrong with me physically. I just feel awful. And so, but while we were there, we all know, like we've all talked about, we don't go into ministry for money. And so we were just struggling a lot. And so I just remember crying out to the Lord, asking him, God, just help us. Like, I don't even know how in the world we're going to pay for all these kids one day. I don't know what that's going to look like. I know you'll take care of us because you always have and you always will, but just help us financially. And so ended up moving to Midland, and we've been here for about 6 years. My husband went on staff at a church here, and I began to do nails in a salon for a little while, which, would help us through some seasons. My husband also painted on the side to just make ends meet, or even to go home at Christmas, all those things. We just couldn't afford to do anything. And so anyway, I tried to lose some weight, tried all the things, and nothing really worked. And then one day, my friend from college was Celeste Gwynn, and we weren't real close in college, but I knew who she was, and she had posted on Facebook about Plexus, and I thought, you know what? That's the one thing I hadn't tried. I've never even heard of it. I hope it didn't kill me. You know, I didn't even know anything about it. And so, but I was okay if it did, because I was just ready to not be fat anymore. If we're just keeping it real. You know what I mean? So anyway, so I reached out to her about it and got started on it. And oh my goodness, I had no idea what in the world the Lord had in store through Plexus. I started feeling better. I had dealt with anxiety. I was, like I said, overweight. I was tired all the time, just all the things. And so after starting Plexus, being in it for a few months, it began to help me tremendously. I just began to feel better and become I felt like I was just better. I could do things better, and because of what the products were doing for me. Well, I was never in a million years going to do network marketing, because I had never seen it done right before. I had people approach me all the time about it because I was a nail tech in the salon. So everybody thought, oh, she has all these contacts. Her husband's a pastor, just all the things. I know all these people. And I always told them, no, I'm not interested. I'm not a sales girl. Anyway, but the cool thing about what Plexus does for you is our products sell themselves, basically. And so people at my church begin to see a difference in me. I lead worship with my husband about once a month in front of thousands of people. And so the more you're up there, I got smaller and smaller, and people would say, so what are you doing? And by the way, why do you seem so happy? And then I was kind of like, well, am I normally grumpy, or like, what does that mean? But anyway, let me tell you about Plexus. So people started seeing a difference in me and asking me about it. So I didn't know anything about network marketing. I didn't know anything about residual income. I did not understand any of that. And so I was just sharing with people because they were asking me. I remember one of my best friends, her husband is in ministry with my husband. She came to me. She had done network marketing before, and she was like, okay, tell me what you're doing. So I told her, and she was like, well, tell me the comp plan. And I'm like, what are you talking about? The comp plan. And she said, you have to know. I'm sorry. She said, you have to know what the comp plan is. And I was like, I got this check and it was really good, but I'm not for sure like how I did it. So anyway, it's kind of funny. We joke about it now. And so anyway, so we began to learn the comp plan together, and just everything started falling into place. And the Lord just chose to bless us through Plexus. And I always say, I struggled with it at first. Like, does the Lord want me to do this full time? What does this look like? What does this look like in the church? Because that's always the question. And for some reason, I feel like people in ministry, for some reason, convince ourselves that we're just supposed to be poor. You're just supposed to be poor. If you're in ministry, that's what you're supposed to be. That is not true. I don't know where that stems from or what that looks like, but we had kind of convinced ourselves, like, we're just going to struggle the rest of our lives, and that's just the way it's supposed to be because we serve God, when that's so far from the truth. And so God really took Plexus in our lives and proved that to us, that, I'm going to show you what I'm fixing to do, which is not really for you, by the way. It's more for me than for you, but I'm going to show you what I'm fixing to do through this business. So I went enrolled in about 10 months, and I hate to even say this because it's just my story, but I still didn't know what I was doing. I went to convention my first year as an emerald. It's kind of funny. I wore jeans like the whole time. I was on stage with jeans, which is nothing a big deal, but I'm like, oh my word, I guess I'm supposed to wear a dress today or something. I just had no clue. And so anyway, I just never experienced anything like that before. And so, let me go back for a second. I forgot to tell this because I love this part of my story. I remember when I was asking the Lord if I was supposed to do this full time. And I was driving to a store, and I stopped in the parking lot, and I was like, Lord, I just need you to show me. I don't know why I'm so hesitant with it, but I need you to show me. So I got my phone and I checked my email. And this is when they first started doing diamond documentaries, and Mr. Jerry's diamond documentary was released that day. And I pulled it up, and the very first thing that he said, I just started weeping. And I was like, all right, Lord, I'm going all in, and I'm going to do this. And at that point, he showed me that this is an extension of what you've been doing with your husband for a lot of years. And so this is just another piece of the puzzle to help you make my name known. And that's what I do through Plexus. I feel like Plexus brings the opportunity for me to have more influence globally. My influence now is very local, like in ministry. I mean, I can go on a mission trip and I can meet people and do all these things, but I feel like that Plexus brings me a global influence. And my whole point with Plexus is it's my tool into people's lives to be able to share Jesus with them. Now, I don't walk up to people and say that, but that's the whole point of what I do. And so I am honored. I am thankful. Has it been an easy journey? No, but I'm a different person today because of what I've learned through Plexus. I was always the pastor's wife. My husband was the one that, was the head, the face of our ministry. I was the supporter. I led worship with him. But it's kind of funny because I always say he doesn't do Plexus. I mean, he takes Plexus. He loves it, obviously, but he doesn't do the business side. And I'm like, I really don't want you to, because this is kind of my gig. I mean, if we're just, keeping it real. So you keep doing that, and I'll support you, and we'll lead worship together and continue to serve the Lord. But this is kind of my thing, okay? But I'll take you to Hawaii with me if you want me to. So he doesn't complain about that part for sure. First class tickets, right? So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. But I just say all that to say, I think a lot of people look at this just as business, and it's so much more than that. If I have so many ministry friends who need to make money, but they're afraid of this for some odd reason, but it can be done right. Obviously, we have people on this call that have proven that. And so I think when we can look at it as, and it's an extension of ministry and what God has called us to do, and if we make his name known in it, I just feel like, and I know he's going to bless it. So that's my story.
I love it. Thank you, Addie, so much. We really appreciate that. I love that you brought up the fact of the idea that people in ministry feel like you have to be poor. Like, I mean, and it's not that we want to be wealthy and we want to flaunt our wealth. It's that we want the means in which to fulfill the calling that we feel like God has called us to, and that Plexus, like you said, is that tool. And I'm sure your husband does really appreciate those Hawaii trips. That's awesome. I love it. Well, we are really excited that you joined us this evening. Before we let you go, we're going to kind of wrap things up and tell you a little bit about our story, just very briefly. Some of the
could talk to a brick wall.
Yes, I could.
So we've got a time on it. That's what a pastor is, right?
I've got that deacon in the back. He's always like, hurry up, so when I'm preaching. So no, but I really love what everybody had to say tonight. We were church planners as well, like some of you, like Addie was talking about. We were church planners in Fort Worth, Texas for several years. And I was actually also teaching at a local university part-time and just trying to make ends meet. We had a ton of kids. We have even more kids now. But we just always have had a big family. And the reality is that there was a season that we ran into in which my part-time hustles that were allowing me to do ministry weren't paying off. And we actually had to go on assistance. We were on food stamps. And I want to tell you this story real quick that I think really exemplifies why Plexus means so much to us. I was in Fort Worth, Texas, and I was in the grocery store, and I was in the line to go and buy the groceries we needed to pay for our large family. And I was embarrassed to be on assistance, but we had to do it because we needed to get by. And so in Texas, they have this big gleaming white food stamps card. It's white as can be, and it's like when you pull it out, it's like you're telling everybody, hey, we're on assistance. And so I try to do like a ninja swipe at the debit card because I don't want anybody to see it. So, real quick, and it wasn't working. And the grocery store attendant was like, sir, is this debit or EBT or food stamps? And I was like, it's debit. I mean, it's food stamps. And she's like, no, sir, I can't hear you. And now the line's now building up. And so I'm trying to be a ninja about this. I'm trying to be quick about this. I don't want anybody to know. And she's like, sir, and she just kind of gets frustrated. Is this the food stamps or debit card? I was like, it's food stamps. It's so super embarrassed. And at that moment, I said to my head, Jesus, if you'll come back right now and reclaim your kingdom, I'm ready to go home, because I did not want to be in that moment. And so, that was a rough season for us. And then
I think during that season, there was a lot of shame in our story.
Yeah, a lot of shame.
Because we were here serving the Lord. We were doing what he called us to do, but we weren't financially making it. We had a lot of medical debt. One of our sons has severe special needs, and he racked up a ton of medical debt, and we were not making ends meet. And there was so much shame in our financial struggle. And we didn't tell anybody. No one knew. Here we are serving the Lord and trying to church plant, but no one knew behind the scenes that we weren't we weren't able to even buy our own groceries.
And it was just that season that we walked through that God really showed us like with everything that I can give you through Christ, with everything that I can give you through my grace and my mercy, I will constantly provide for you. But it was just still a difficult season because we're here to serve the least of these. And how can we do that when we can barely get by? Like, how can we do those things when we can get by? Then Cassie was introduced to Plexus.
Well, you had taken on some extra jobs, all that. We were just, I mean, really at the point when I was homeschooling 6 kids. We had just adopted our first kiddo from China. And my health was rock bottom for sure. I felt horrible. I was literally living, basically parenting from the couch and from the Starbucks drive-through line. That is what my life consisted of. I was literally just surviving. And, you know, my husband's in ministry, and I so desperately wanted to be his wife, the pastor's wife, that could do it alongside him. I wanted to be the mother that the Lord called me to, but my health, my emotional, I was struggling with massive anxiety and depression. I couldn't fulfill the Lord's calling in my life. I was struggling. And so ended up really coming to Plexus after a lot of skepticism and just, but I really was like, okay, Lord, like, I'm going to try this. I believe that you have more for me. I believe that you have more set aside for me, and that you have this abundant life out there for me, that I can live abundantly with my children. I can parent abundantly, that I can minister abundantly. And so, jumped on the products, and I don't know if he even knew, but rock bottom financially, I had enough to be able to buy my first month's worth of products. And I was like, Lord, like, I'm just going to step out in faith, going to try this. This is my prayer. Like, Lord, praying that this would be it. A week went into it, and he was like, you just seem different. Like, you seem happy. Kind of like what Addie was like, well, or was it Rachel? I was like, does that mean I was not happy before? But in all honesty, that's kind of what my life was like. I was just grumpy, exhausted, and everything was just hard. Everything was hard. And so I knew that in order to continue these products, I had to find a way to afford them. But we were at rock bottom financially. And I remember one night, I just felt like the Lord placed this visual in my mind of him handing me Plexus and saying, like, I have this gift for you. Are you going to take it or not? And I really, in my heart of hearts, like, I have run from network marketing forever. I've had many friends approach me, and I have never wanted to be a part of it. I'm an introvert. I'm just not the type of person who would ever sign up to do something like network marketing. But it's because I had, again, seen it done in ways that I didn't want to be a part of it. But Plexus was so different. Plexus was about holistic health. Plexus was about helping people with their mind, with their body, and then spiritually. And that for me was a perfect fit. It was an extension of ministry for our family. So we made the decision. I came to him one night. I think we had like one of these just like 3-hour-long conversations. And I was just like, I feel like God is calling us into Plexus. And we had a long talk about that. Like, what does that look like? And I couldn't shake it. I could not shake that. I felt this is going to be a part of my ministry. This is how I am going to further the kingdom of God. This is how God wants to use my story and use us together. And along all of that, my health began to change, my emotions, my mood became stable. I feel like literally like a burden was lifted off my shoulders, and I became me again. And it's just incredible what the Lord has done. Sure. We have 9 children now. We've been able to adopt 2 more kids from China. So we have 3 children from China. And that is a huge part of our story. The Lord called us to adopt our kiddos, and international adoption is does not cheap. And we have 4 children with very high special needs, which means very high medical costs. I mean, literally we're at hospital visits and specialists all the time. And the Lord, I had no idea that he was going to use Plexus to fulfill his calling of adoption. We would not have been able to afford to adopt internationally There's one of our kiddos sneaking up the stairs. We would not have been able to afford that calling, and we would not be able to afford their medical costs. And so what he has done in our family alone, it's changed everything. And for me, I'm a pastor's wife, but my first ministry is my family. You know, that is my calling. That's my ministry, my first priority. And he has brought my husband home. So now he gets to work part-time at our church and gets to be home full-time with us. And that is literally, it brings tears to my eyes, because God had brought us, he called us to these children. He called us to adopt. He called us to have a large family. And he also provided a way.
Yeah, and I know that some of you are listening to these amazing testimonies, and you're in ministry, and you're thinking, wow, that's my story, or that's my story, and I know that a lot of these people who've spoke tonight maybe be resonating with you of what Plexus has done for you. We all here have talked about how we are living on mission, that we live a mission. You hear everybody that's spoken, they have a purpose, and that God has called purpose. And you know, our purpose is to make disciples, and Plexus has come along and allowed us even a bigger platform to be able to do this. If we all believe in the sovereignty of God, if we all believe that God wants our very best, then maybe, just maybe, this is the opportunity that he is setting aside for you to be able to fulfill that life on mission, that purpose, those goals, those dreams that you've had all that time when you were called long ago into ministry. Maybe God is calling you to those things, and maybe Plexus is the platform which he wants to use to get you there. I have been able to do marriage counseling. I've been able to share the gospel with people and see people come to know Christ through Plexus. I've been able to pray with people as they lose. Literally, we have a team member right now that is like waiting next to her mother's bedside as she may be passing any moment. We get to lock arms with her and mourn when they mourn, and celebrate when they celebrate, and have all this influence and gospel-centered influence on these people that we never in a million years would have been able to influence if it wasn't for Plexus. And so thank you so much for jumping on this evening. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions, you can love to leave it in the comments. We can get back to you as we can. Thank you, presenters, tonight, for all that you've done tonight. And may God bless everyone that has listened to this call. And I just really want to put before you that life on mission that God has called you to, whether or not you join Plexus or not, keep running your race. Keep running your race. Keep fighting the good fight, because I know that the Lord has set you aside for great things, for other people's good and his glory. Thanks so much for being on tonight, and have a great evening. We'll see you. God bless.
Okay.